So Marvel is worried, very, very worried. In fact, they're worried that the Russo brothers are losing what magic they had, if they ever had any. And it seems like Kevin Feige is under more and more pressure to deliver something in an MCU that is absolutely unraveled. There's no sense of order or plan any longer. Everything that they had was tied up in Jonathan Majors, who decided to put himself in a precarious position. Early reception for things that are supposed to be coming out soon are at an all-time low. In other words, there's no hype, and the Russos didn't seem to add any when they were announced. Well, seems like we've got more controversy because of a recent Russo's failure over at Netflix. Not sure what I'm talking about. I've got the whole story. Here we go. But before we get started, the real quick reminder to get subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free, and if you're here for your first or your 1000th time, it'll be well worth it since I do so much content each and every day. That's all I'll take of your time, but do me the small favor. I'll say thank you in advance, and, well, it's Russo time. That's right, it's Russo's time, and the problem is according to World of Real, Marvel is worried about Russo's Avengers movies after their Electric State disaster. I would say debacle, disaster, trash fire, whatever. I mean, nobody liked this movie. The mainstream hated it, the audience hated it, I hated it. It's not very good. It's $330 million worth of trash fire that you can't even warm your hands with. From the story itself, Jordan reports that Marvel Studios is totally in dire straits, and that's mostly thanks to last year's mega successful Deadpool and Wolverine, which had very little MCU and a whole lot of Fox media built into it. However, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a different story. Ever since Avengers Endgame, Marvel head Kevin Feige has not been successful in navigating the next phase of stories. I know. I watched Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. You may have too. We might have been the only 12 people that went to go see that. Although that's better than the Marvels got. If you look back in time, that movie was a complete failure. Regardless, with a handful of panned movies and 2 big Avengers installments set for release in 2026 and 2027, which I think is probably too soon because there are going to be fewer and fewer people going to be interested after you wreck the A24 style Thunderbolts. I do not know what Florence Pugh was thinking when she said that. And Fantastic Four, which I think are going to be broken steps. I have no optimism for this film. It doesn't look good. In fact, I'm very concerned for the future of Marvel just based on the CGI alone. After some delays in choosing a director for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, the original Helmer, who wasn't really successful to begin with, the Daniel Destin Cretton fella, having to drop out, Feige finally decided to go back and rehire Joe and Anthony Russo. Smart decision? I don't know. Remains to be seen, according to our friend Jordan here, and red flags are starting to show up. Of course they are. The Russos are coming off of 3 critically panned non-MCU movies: Cherry, The Gray Man, which was not all that good, and most concerning of all, the $330 million disaster known as the Electric State. And I would put that firmly on the screenplay, the actors, the directors, and almost everybody else involved in it, because it's just that bad. These are the guys that Feige is resting his faith on to steer the MCU ship in the right direction. Well, if you wanted to do that, you should have combined the talents of Jon Favreau and James Gunn before each of them showed no more interest in working in the MCU. Jordan, though, is responsible. He's working very hard to remind us that we should treat this as a rumor. So, in other words, fill a giant pool full of rock salt, because it's coming out of, while sometimes accurate, a scooper known as My Time to Shine Hello. And whether or not you believe they have inside information or not, or they're just really good at deducing things from the things happening around certain thing, which is a skill in and of itself, there are a lot of things open for interpretation. Now, according to the quote, I hear Feige and Marvel are getting worried after seeing how bad the Electric State is, and are starting to reconsider whether rehiring the Russos was a mistake. The problem is it's damage done, and it's giant damage done. we're hearing $80 million of damage done just to get them in the room. I think the same number was touted for getting RDJ back in the room, and that's not even in the character that anybody wants to see him in. And Jordan rightly points out that anyone can come up with this conclusion. There's zero chance Feige hasn't noticed the total and utter failure of the electric state and not had some form of doubt. I know I have a lot of doubt, and I had doubt before we even got to this point. I was thinking the Russos were gone forever, and that might have been a good thing. And it should be mentioned that an MCU director isn't a director as much as they are a person who shows up and follows Feige's explicit instructions. And we've often heard that directors and other elements of a production staff are often casted by Disney rather than actually hired to do the job that they should be doing. They're just going to be a name on the masthead and, well, on the credits someday, and they're either going to deliver or they're not, and that will be $200 to $500 million under the bridge by the time the film comes out in the last place. And supposedly, the Russos start production on Avengers Doomsday next month, and Avengers Secret Wars is set to be in production not too long after that, because you've got to shoot them very quickly to keep up with these actors, their looks, and their physical builds while, well, they're able to maintain them. These will be films that'll cost $200 million each, and it's too late to replace the Russos with anybody else, and it would be an absolute disaster if they even tried. Of course, the only good news here is that the Russos have delivered in the past, although it could be argued that that was Feige under a different kind of a map that was given to him by James Gunn, but that's, again, something else that's not in play here. And as Jordan points out in the article, that was then and this is now, and Marvel fatigue is very present in 2025, especially with the insertion of all the mid-tier unknown people that audiences seem to already dislike, and shoving them into something new isn't going to help that very much. In fact, it might keep people away from these giant movie projects. And as the final gut punch, Jordan goes out to point out that Electric State has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes, and according to Jordan, it's the worst movie that they've seen this year. And I would say I'm pretty close to agreeing with that one. Unwatchable slog or not, this is the director, the crew, and the actors, unfortunately, that we're going to be stuck with for at least 2 movies. And the rumors of returning heroes may or may not be true, but I question this myself. Is there any way they could help a floundering MCU? I certainly don't know that they could hurt it anymore, especially after the film results of Captain America: Brave New World, which nobody liked. Risk or no, friend or foe, we will not know until these films come out, and at that point, it's too late, and Disney is stuck on a path that there's no way they can deviate from. My guess is this will be the last $500 or $600 million that Disney spends for a while on the MCU. But I could be wrong, and these films could be fine. I just have very lowered expectations these days, and maybe you do too. So on that note, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.